we've seen that not to be the case. But fighting in World War I ended on the 11th hour, on the 11th day of the 11th month. And that's why each year in our country, Veterans Day is celebrated on November 11th. And I want to share with you just a few of the characteristics this morning that I want you students to remember about the folks who serve so valiantly in our military. One of those characteristics, oops, I went too far, it's going too fast, is courage. You know, and many of these same characteristics are the same things that God calls us, each and every person, as believers and followers of Jesus Christ, to exhibit in our daily lives. I love the quote up there that being a soldier is more than courage. It's sacrificing something greater than yourself. I heard once that, I heard it said by Nelson Mandela, he said this, he said, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man or woman is not he or she who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers fear. God called us as believers in Joshua 1:9. He said, this is my command, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. One of the greatest things we can remember from Veterans Day today about the men and women who serve our country is their courage. But it's also a trait that God's calling us today as well to exhibit in our lives. The second thing I want you to see is this idea of selfless service. Students, to be able to live for something that's bigger than yourselves. That's what God called us to do. That's what our veterans did on our behalf. John 15:13. Love the verse. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. To be able to selflessly serve. I also want you to see the sacrifice. To see the sacrifice. You know, the idea that we would live a life filled with love, following the example of Christ, that he loved us and offered himself as a sacrifice for us, a pleasing aroma to God. We need that back in America. We need Christians who will live a life of sacrifice. Our veterans did that. They gave up home, they gave up family, they gave up so much serving this country and providing and making it possible for us to even have a celebration like today. That sacrifice did include a cost. Sometimes the cost was just being away from home, but sometimes the cost was their very life. I ran across a letter I want to share with you today that Abraham Lincoln wrote during the Civil War. And it says this, he's written it to a mother. He says, Dear Madam, I've been shown the files of the War Department, a statement of the Adjutant General of Massachusetts, that you are the mother of 5 sons who died gloriously on the field of battle. Can you imagine? 5 sons. I feel how weak and fruitless must be any words of mine which should attempt to beguile you from the grief of a loss so overwhelming. But I cannot refrain from tendering you the consolation that may be found in the thanks of the Republic they died to save. I pray that our Heavenly Father may assuage you the anguish of your